Hello everybody and welcome back to the Celtic Unrestricted View. The new fixtures are released, there's players getting linked aplenty and the new rule which could help Celtic in the European venture. My name is Ryan Clifford, joining me is Shaun, Mark and our good man Barry who's been on before, and I think Mark was on before as well, so you'll see his new face as well back on. Sorry we're late guys, we're just due to circumstances, we have to be on a wee bit later on, but we are back, we are on. Shaun, nice to meet you mate for the first time, how are you in this sunny day in Glasgow mate? Hope you're very well.
I'm doing well mate, I'm doing well, thanks for having me on. Obviously I enjoy the sun but I need to be a wee bit conscious of it because you know the red hair, it doesn't agree with the sun mate, so need to be a wee bit careful.
That's it Barry, like Shaun says there mate, I think you're the same, so it's a bit of sun, bit of shelter, but it's always good for the Celtic mate as well and the sun as well.
Aye, thanks for hosting Ryan, it's good to be on and great to see Shaun, that's my wee brother, good to see him make his debut on the podcast, and my good pal Mark back on again as well. And yeah, just same as Shaun, you know, I love the warm weather, you know, people are generally a wee bit more positive, but I do have to be a wee bit cautious just with the hair because the sun just seems to attack me.
I'm quite lucky to fellas, I do take a bit of sun, but sometimes, especially if you're drinking alcohol abroad as well, bit deceiving. If you're not drinking alcohol, it's still deceiving. It's the sun. You don't really think you're getting tanned or burnt, and then night time you're thinking, oh sugar, I'm here time. But Mark, how are you, mate? Hope you're well and hope you're enjoying the sun as well. But I know pre-season, mate, not started yet, so we're all a bit trying to talk about Celtic. It's always good to get a chat about the team we all love.
Yeah, I'm good, first and foremost, and I enjoy the good weather as well. Good to see yourself, Ryan, doing the good work that you do. And Shaun, good to see yourself and Barry. Thanks for inviting me on, Ryan, as well. But no, I've needed my Celtic fix. I've actually avoided most things since the cup final. So, but I normally like a few weeks in the pre-season for a bit of a rest, but I'm missing it now. So it's good to be back, good to be talking about it, and aye, the sooner things get back, the better.
Yeah, you're spot on, mate. We do need a fix. JP is on holiday. He says, "Hola, boys. Hope you're well." Plunge back in. Afternoon, boys. I thought we were going to not be on, but we are on Plunge, so I hope that helps you get your Celtic fix as well, mate. P. McLaughlin's waiting on the bus. So I hope we can help your bus journey, your bus wait time, P. McLaughlin. Alan says, "Afternoon, boys. Great to get new views." He's obviously off at the moment due to medical issues. Hope you're well, big man, very soon. And it's also good to get opinions. We can obviously talk about, Shaun, the first bit that's just come out is the fixtures at home at St Mirren, 4:30 kick-off. But first of all, on that, we have got a video from our good man JP, and then we can all react on what JP says.
Afternoon, boys. Hope yous are well. I just thought I'd do a wee video for yous to give my thoughts on the opening day of the season. I think it's pretty poor that Celtic don't get to be the curtain raiser. We've been the champions and we should have the first game, in my opinion. I don't think we should be waiting to the Sunday, especially no 4:30 on a Sunday afternoon. A lot of our fans that travel over from Ireland and places like that can't maybe not get to that game now. And it being Flag Day and everything, you want to try and have many as your supporters and your fellow supporters there at the match. Some interesting fixtures, lads, as well. Obviously, Aberdeen pretty early on away, Pittodrie, and then obviously an away trip to Ibrox as well. So, yeah, Celtic have got a work cut out for them, I think. And we need to make sure we're fully at it once the season starts. Let's hope we have a good pre-season and we can get ourselves there to the energy levels are right so that we're going into these games, being fully prepared. I'm looking forward to hopefully unveiling the new signing of Benjamin Nygren. I know some of you lads on the other day was struggling to pronounce his name and was just calling him a big sweet. But I do think that he's going to add and complement really, really well to this side. I've watched a couple of videos of him. He looks as if he's got a very good first touch and he looks like he'll settle in pretty quickly. So here's hoping we get that done. If it's not already done by the time this video goes out. And I'll catch you again soon. All right, guys. Hail, hail.
So that's JP view from Spain, Shaun. Obviously, the kick-off time 4:30 on a Sunday. For me, it's pretty scandalous, Shaun. I think years gone past, it was always the champions who had the first game, curtain raiser of the season. I think that's the way it should be. You're the champions. You should be making the spectacle at Celtic Park, the fireworks, Flag Day. It should be a special occasion, probably sunshine in the summer. I think it should be right that Celtic get the accolades as well to start the season, Shaun. For me, it's a bit of a tough one to take in terms of we're the champions. We shouldn't be Sunday at 4:30. Like JP says, there's fans travelling for Ireland, probably other countries having to maybe change their plans as well. There's fans here that maybe travel for up north, etc., and they're having to obviously change their plans. So, what's your thoughts on that, Shaun?
No, I absolutely agree with you. It's just a bizarre, it's a bizarre time for kick-off on a Saturday, first game of the season. I agree with absolutely everything JP said and yourself, Ryan. And you know, people as well. We live in a day and age now where people work 6 days a week as well, and you know, some people work on Saturdays as well. So it's going to be hard for them to make that time as well. So it's just just a bizarre one for them to release that fixture in that time. I don't really know what their thinking is behind it. They've been doing stuff like this for the past few seasons now, so it doesn't surprise me. You know, bizarre decision making for the top, and a few times Celtic have been on the receiving end of it. So, you know, it's just one of the things. We can't do nothing, but it is what it is. But I definitely, if I was Celtic, I would be raising the question, you know, speculating why it is at that time on that Saturday in particular.
No, I agree with you, Shaun. I think Barry, as Shaun says, they're 4:30 on a Sunday. Normally, a lot of people like a game on a Sunday, maybe it gets a weekend ended in a good way. But to start the season, Barry, I think Celtic should or if it's Rangers, Aberdeen, whoever wins the league, they should always be the first game, probably at 12:30. Is it because of the Sky now, or the SFA now? Yes, meant to the Sky. All right, okay, 4:30. That's fine. That's fine. Use payers the money, we'll take it in. Or do you think the SFA should be a bit more, shall I say a bit of a box about and say, no, listen, Celtic should be curtain raiser, 12:30 kick-off, deal with it. What's your thoughts on that, mate?
Well, before I give my thoughts on that, I'm conscious that Alan had put in the comments there as well, and just to say I hope he's okay. I know he's having to take some time out. I hope you're well, Alan, and good to see JP coming on the pod there. You know, even being in a different country, can he stop him? His love for the unrestricted view has got no boundaries, you know. And I know he's watching now, but he made a lot of cracking points there. See, in regards to the fixture being on a Sunday and being 4:30 p.m, right? Whatever happened to these companies and these kind of hierarchies? Whatever happened to special treatment going to the champions? Special treatment going to, you know, the club that was on top. That's how it should be. You know, the guard of honour that most countries do, you know, to celebrate the champions. These kind of traditions, these kind of things have been there for a long time. They're there for a reason, because the club that comes out on top in the country, in this case Celtic and Scotland, we should get that special treatment. You know, the powers that be should want to give us that special treatment. But I'll tell you what I think it comes back to. Celtic and the success that we've had has went against us in so many different ways. You know, we're that successful, it's that normalised, it's that routine that we just don't get that special treatment. And even our own club, to an extent, in my opinion, overlooked us at the end of the season there. You know, when we got the title, you know, Big JP, I was talking to Mark about this at the time. The celebrations were over and done with before you could say we won the league again. You know, the success that we've had shouldn't mean that we don't get that special treatment. You know, all the more so you deserve the special treatment. So the fixture is a bit of a joke, punished for being successful. punished for being successful and also overlooked in many ways by the media, different fan bases, sometimes our own. And I think we're victims of our own success, is what I'm saying.
No, I think you're right, Barry. I think we should be the special club, the special fixture at the start of the season,
Yep.
Cup and Razor. What's your thoughts on that, Mark? Do you agree with the guys in JP, or are you not really bothered? You just want the season started and Celtic get signings in and we just kick on for there?
Yeah. No, I do. I think it's a lot of good, valid points. To be honest, I was slightly surprised when I seen the fixture on the Sunday at 4:30, and then I reminded myself I shouldn't be surprised because it's the league that we're dealing with, the SFA. You've got to remember this is an organisation that they go out of their way to avoid a league title decider. So they don't promote the league in any aspect at all. They're kind of really small school when it comes to things like this. So it's not really taken into consideration. It's not putting the champions first. It's not kind of prioritising what they should in the league. But that's what they do. So it's disappointing. It is. JP made the point about the fans filing yourself, Ryan, and I think that's the kind of crux of it. I don't know if it's anything to do with the Sky deal because the English league's not on at that time. I don't know if there's pre-season tournaments or anything that they're televising, so I'm not sure at all. I'd like to hear the rationale, but I'd like to hear the league's kind of rationale, how they don't promote the league in the best way that they can. But again, it is a league, they go out their way to avoid title deciders. So what do you expect from them, It's just second rate. And that's yeah.
No, I think they're bang on, Mark, in terms of I don't think we promote the league at all. I know it might be, for me, Shaun, I know it's wee small things, but see, even like, I know I don't go up to Motherwell often, I don't go to Paisley often, but do you really see anything up in billboards? Do you see local radio? You don't see anything hammering home the fixtures for their teams. Celtic Rangers, it's Aberdeen, Hearts and Hibs. They've got a big capacity. They normally get decent crowds and stuff, but Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen, Hearts, Hibs probably don't need, maybe Hibs can agree sometimes, but the way they're going now, they don't really need to publicise much, right? But there's other teams, maybe Dundee, etc. I don't think they're publicised enough. Is it the pricing that puts people off? But I don't think we market it. It's quite a good point. This is not something I had to mention today, but Mark said there, Shaun, I think it's worth it to talk about because I don't think, taking with Celtic Rangers possibly, I don't think it's marketed enough in its own, in the own villages, our country, Shaun. I don't think we market our game anywhere near, Shaun, the way we should.
No, and I would totally agree with that. I think like the Scottish game's so underrated. I mean, you see it with even with players that come up from down south, like they don't really cope with our game, and as obviously the football's not always attractive, but it is competitive. There is teams that they're all fighting for something, and I agree with you. I feel like there should be a driving force behind it to promote our game, and there's certainly worse leagues out there than the Scottish League. So definitely, I think there needs to be more done in that area. But are they going to do it? I can't see it. They would have done it by now if they were. The money's obviously coming in is enough, and they obviously don't see a need to do that. But it's a shame because we have got something that's good here, and it should be enjoyed by everybody, not just on the the Glasgow derbies or the Edinburgh derbies. It's just I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I do agree with you, mate, what you're saying.
No, I think I agree with you, Shaun. I think we don't publicise it enough. And I think sometimes, Barry, as well, as much as the Sky deals are good and money getting into the country and the economy in Scottish football is good, but sometimes I don't really think we negotiate things. I think it's, you might give us 40 million, right? That's cool. I think it's just, maybe that's because maybe it's only offer we get Barry off Sky, but I think as well, knowing the fact that they've got the Glasgow derbies, the Edinburgh derbies now, you've got the Dundee derby as well, so I think that's where we should try to put a bit more carrot out, say, well, you've got all these big derbies here, give us a bit more dosh, Barry.
Yeah, I think this is where Celtic are a standalone football club in Scotland. We are the only club that does things, I wouldn't only just say the right way, but we do things in a way where we're always looking to leverage the football club. We're always looking for an angle that we can improve, not just on the field, but off the field. And we've had to do that. We've had to do this off our own back because the league itself, in my opinion, I think Mark's right. It's a lack of ambition. There's just a lack of ambition in the league. There's an acceptance there of what we can do and what we can achieve. Who ever gets anywhere in life with that type of acceptance? How do you ever make progress? How do you ever make inroads? And Shaun made a good point there about, you know, our league, it predominantly is for people in Scotland. Let's call a spade here, right? The people who watch Scottish football are people who are in Scotland, or maybe people who have got a vested interest. You know, maybe they've got family here, or they've got a relative that plays for a club in Scotland. Other than that, you're not going to see people down south, neutrals, tuning in to watch a game for Scotland. I wouldn't expect so anyway. But yeah, the main point here being that our league does have a lot of qualities, but I think it just gets overlooked really. And the reason it gets overlooked is just because there is an acceptance there with the SFA and people that run things here. What's achievable for clubs in this country? What's achievable for Scottish football? And they're, I wouldn't say happy to stay there, but they've accepted it.
I think you're right, Barry. I think I don't know if you feel on that, Mark, but I think what the guys are saying there is kind of spot on.
Yeah, it's just a general lack of kind of promotion in the league, and that's been ongoing. And we need the quality of the league to be better. Celtic do suffer because of the quality of the league, and the SFA are part of that because it's like there's an acceptance. Barry, you mentioned it. Even in Europe, with clubs out with ourselves and Rangers, they don't progress, and it's never questioned. You know, these clubs don't really look to progress, and it harms the league because there's a big gulf between us playing Hibs and Dundee United to Bayern Munich. And it's not an excuse, it's just the reality because it's cited as an excuse as well that we're the big fish and we can't. But the quality of the league's dreadful, and it has been for years. And you only need to look at the European results outside of Celtic Rangers to see that. Some of them are embarrassing. I think a couple of Irish teams and things like that have defeated Motherwell in the last few years. Welsh team Kilmarnock. So it's really mentioned. It's really mentioned in the media about the poor quality. Which affects the whole league, and that's it. The only thing I'll say, just last thing, I think it's the 4:30 slot on a Sunday, so potentially they want the English viewers on the Sunday. That's maybe it. Just when I've kind of mentioned that the English league's not on, so they maybe want the English viewers. However, that's nothing to do with Scotland or Celtic fans or the promotion of the league in general. It's maybe just to get a few more viewing figures at that time.
That could be something, I think, Mark. It could be the English, obviously, maybe take priority in terms of they wanting that slot, because that is normally Sunday football in England, isn't it? That slot. But I think, obviously, Shaun, the fixtures, as we mentioned, St Mirren at home, Aberdeen away, Livingston, Rangers, and then Kilmarnock. There's a possibility that we could cancel the Livingston game, or it might be the second leg as well, the game after that as well, but before the second leg. But what's your thoughts on that new rule? It's just come out really today or yesterday. It just came out that there's a potential chance that the teams in Scotland can cancel the game before the European game. Is that something you think we should take up, Shaun, or would you rather we played the game and keep momentum?
I think it's a good option to have. I think the fact that we have that option is a good thing. But I personally, I wouldn't be looking for Celtic to take that option. I would be wanting them to play that game. I think with it being so close to the Rangers game in the start of the season, you're really looking to build momentum and get a few wins under you. And if you get the 4 results, you're quids in for that's a really good start to the season. Personally, I don't know what the guys think, but I personally, I think it's a good option, but wouldn't be one that I'd be wanting Celtic to take.
I'm like you, Shaun. I think it's a good option to have just in case. I don't know what the deadline is before they can postpone it, because obviously there'll be fans travelling and stuff. I'm there to let people know. There'll be a lot of people thinking, Barry, that as much as you need to be respectful, but 9 times out of 10 you'd expect Celtic to beat Livingston at home. So some fans might think, look, it could be a don't want to say easy 3 points, but we'll go normal routine, Celtic Park, few goals hopefully, Livingston probably try and park the bus, we'll go and get a victory, and then it leads you into a bit of momentum into the playoff game. Or do you maybe, just in case you get the odd injury for a major player, do you prioritise the playoff game? I'm probably going to say Barry, Shaun, keep momentum at the start of the season, try and pick up every maximum point you can. You might get new signings in, bed them in, and you bed them in by playing games, not really training, it's playing with each other. You might get a new striker, new centre mid, new winger, we'll speak about in the next few minutes. I would rather Barry would just play games, because at that time of the season, you're fresh, you're fit. Sometimes it might take a game or two for the team to click, to get the manager's point of view on new players, how that gets across. So for me, Barry, I'm going to agree with Shaun that I would rather just keep playing. The players will be pretty fresh, eager to start the season well, and hopefully you beat Livingston now to playoff, mate.
Yeah, I think you would rather have the option than not have it, because you just never know circumstantially. You know, who knows what could happen around about that time. So if the option's there might be a scenario that we can't account for just now that would make it beneficial. I mean, again, the opportunity to have an extra week's training. So it's not just the actual game, you know, that week building up to the game, you've extended your time on the training pitch if you don't play that game, which could be a big advantage, especially, you know, with those qualifiers being so big. So yeah, I think again, you both of you have said that you'd rather have the option than not have it. But I'm more intrigued with the actual fixtures. You know, I'm pleased that the derbies are going to start at Ibrox. I'm pleased with that, because I've got this mindset, I've always had it, I would rather the last derby that we play in a season be at Celtic Park. And that'll be the case this season. So, you know, Big JP mentioned it in that video we sent him, 2 difficult places to go to in your first 5 games. You've got to go to Ibrox, you've got to go to Pittodrie. So, yeah, I understand momentum's important, but it's one of the ones you would rather have the option of being able to skip that game as not having it.
I think, Mark, I think the option would be good, as Barry says. I'd rather have momentum, and I wouldn't, as much as I'm not saying we're going to have points or we're going to win every game, but I'd rather go to Ibrox personally. No having to chase it at all if we are behind, or no having to then play a catch-up game. I'd rather just have momentum, mate. That's just obviously me. I think we'll hear different fans, Mark, having different opinions about this, but I think overall it is good to have the option, just in case. Just say we did get maybe, just say we signed the Benjamin, and then we signed Balotelli, right? And that's your 2 wingers. Kunga's away, Jota's not back yet. And just say the game before the Livy game, they get injured. Oh, right. Maybe it's good to cancel it. But again, I don't know when the deadline is, Mark, when we can cancel it. But I think the agreement, I think I'm with the 2 guys there. It is good to have the option, Mark.
Yeah, I agree with that, because you need the option just in case of injuries, if that happened, and you did have the option in the timescales. But I agree with you, Ryan, about the momentum. It's crucial for us to have momentum at that time of the season, because I believe we can get some sides that are halfway through their season. And I've seen that in previous qualifiers, and the Astana 5-0 game comes into my mind when we were right up to speed. We had all the games under our belts, and that was crucial to hit teams like that are kind of halfway through their season. So you take the fixture because it's building momentum. It's no a bit of rest, or players need to be up to speed to potentially play teams that are 12, 15 games into their season. So for me, you've got to take it.
Yeah, I think I'm agreeing with you there. Obviously as well, Shaun, Aberdeen away in the second game of the season. Tough one. I think it's always tough got Pittodrie, but recent years we've been pretty good there. I know we changed our team recently into the season, and you wouldn't think that Nerowski was 3rd or 4th choice. You wouldn't think Yang was maybe no first choice. Other guys in the team who came in and played well. You wouldn't think that was, if you want to call it, a made-up B team or a reserve team or whatever. But realistically, these guys are still international players on some of them. So that just shows you some of the strength that we have. But I do feel we'd be doing it to strengthen, and we will touch on that in terms of replacements this year. But Aberdeen away from home, obviously the Scottish Cup winner, Shaun. So it is obviously good to get a home game, but away game, it's one of the ones that if you pick, you go, oh right, Aberdeen away from home. But I think we are Celtic, Shaun, we shouldn't fear anybody. I think that's just the way we feel now as Celtic fans.
No, I agree with you, mate. And obviously up at Pittodrie, there's always a good atmosphere up there. You know, the fans are always loud, and it's a good taster for any new players coming in that's going to be in that squad in the lead up to the Ibrox game. Because you're not going to get many fixtures in Scotland that's more difficult than going up to Pittodrie. They always give us a good game. That last game, obviously, we played them. You know, Celtic ran away with it, but you know, historically, we do find it quite tough up there. I remember one game, I think Cal Mack got one of the goals quite late on. It was a pretty close game, so I think if the new boys coming in are wanting to get a feel for what Scottish football is outside the Glasgow Derby and what to expect in a away game, the Tawdry's a good start, and I think that sets us up perfectly for going. I'd rather get them done at the start as well, because it is a tough fixture and the boys are going to be fresh. You know, they're just after pre-season. Rodgers will have had them, well drilled. So I think we're in the prime position to go up there and take it to them. It sets us up nicely for looking ahead to the Glasgow Derby.
No, I agree with you, mate. I think it is a good game to have because it will test you early on in the season. Maybe new players coming in. Is that the same as you, Barry? Do you think it's a good game to have? I know people might say away at Aberdeen, second game, or it's not a random computer, one of the ones. But for me, Barry, I think it's a good fixture to have. It will test some of the new signings that may be playing as well, and I'd imagine it's a good game to prepare you for the playoff as well.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the league fixtures, I know there's always an intrigue with them, especially the early ones, and I'm no different. I do have a keen interest who we're going to be playing. It's the derbies more than anything else I'm looking at. But yeah, I mean, second game of the league, going up to Aberdeen, that's obviously going to be a challenge. But I think Shaun made a good point. That's arguably when Celtic will be close to their best. That's how it was this season under Brendan. We started the season absolutely flying. And somebody made a comment, that it's kind of set up to go against us. But, a counterpoint with that would be, well, if you win those games early, then you put yourself in a really good position. It's back to what you were saying, Ryan, momentum. I don't want to get sidetracked too much, but there's a lot of noise for the other side of the city. I mean, it's just noise at this moment, to be quite fair. There's nothing concrete coming after the noise, not that I can see anyway. But I heard Brendan, a short clip earlier, and he was talking about keeping an eye on your rivals. He was saying that's something we do here in Celtic. We're mindful of what's going on. So, yeah, momentum starting fast is always important. I put a wee bit more emphasis on that this season, just to make sure that you're doing your due diligence, you're starting well, you're getting out the traps fast, and just making sure that any momentum at all, or any hint of momentum that's coming from the other side, that you match that and then some, because that's what we do here at Celtic. We make sure we're always ahead.
Yeah, I think Mark Barry's right there. I think momentum last year we had at pre-season, that carried on into the first 5-6 months of the season. Some of the football was really good. It was really, really attacking football. It was quick. Some of the new signings looked good. Kuhn was looking really good. So that's probably a good inkling as well, Mark. We've got good pre-season games, good early games in the league, and then that leads you to playoff. And hopefully by then, mate, we've got some signings and we're all kind of ticking over very, very well.
Yeah, but I'm actually really pleased with the fixtures. St Mirren are a tough test if they keep Robinson. By the way, they held us to a draw in the last game of last season, so it's not a kind of formality that. So, but a good home opener, and we generally do well on the first day of the season. However, Aberdeen next, I would have picked that if I could after the cup final. I'm hoping that the team will be smarting after that defeat, and they've got something more to prove because our league record is good up there. However, they beat us in the cup final, so I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it was a mock-up, but I think they're kind of mocking us in their fixture list announcements today. So that's where you are. So I think that's a great incentive, and then you've got your away game at Rangers, another challenge, another new manager, another bit of hype. So 2 great fixtures for me, for us to come out the blocks flying. And although it was a very good season last year, it didn't end in a high at all. And I think it will just re-energise the side and the focus, definitely the manager and the captain. And the 2 fixtures are really appetising for me.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mark. For me, Shaun, I think that good season overall, very good season. Winning any trophy is good, especially your bread and butter. Winning a double's very good, but maybe bits about the season, if we maybe strengthen January a bit more, if we've done bits and bobs, we might have obviously won the treble. But to win a treble, it's crazy that we're saying we should win a treble, because it's not something that's normalised. It's normalised in Scotland due to Brendan Rodgers and the way the club is run. Yeah, listen, people have faults about the board or recruitment or whatever players, but realistically we can't fault the way that we've done the last 20 odd years. We've been the most successful club in Scotland, ideally in terms of trophies. It looks like the world. So we can have faults and bumps in the road, but realistically right now we're in a really good place, Shaun, and that leads us over to the transfer. But at the moment, obviously, like Barry says and Mark says, a lot of noise. There's no banging drums just yet, it's just noise. There's no guitars playing, there's no loud music, it's just noise. I think, Shaun, I think we are, for the first time in a long time, last year we sat on Aidan Bernardo, a lot of the window, when they came in, do we need to get replacements, or they came in, but now it looks like maybe David Pleat and Paul Tisdale are maybe taking more of an involvement in it. It seems to be a bit more moving early doors. And recently with Celtic, it's not really been the case. It's been the middle or the end. All right, he's coming now, get it done. And we're all wanting a fix, Celtic fix. Oh, when's he coming in? Why is he not in yet? Why is it taking so long? But it's just good to see, Shaun, that there's Osman, Balak Swisha, there's a guy for Japan, Hayoto. There's other people coming, lights coming in. So what's your thoughts on the early movement, Shaun?
I think what we're seeing is, what Brendan Rodgers said, he mentioned a lot through his interviews all last season. He knows where he wants to strengthen, and Celtic will strengthen. And I think Brendan knows all the areas where he needs to do that to make us as successful as we possibly can be next season. I know the boy from Sweden, Nygren, he's prime example of the transfer model that Celtic have got in place. He's young, he's a Swedish international, and he looks a player. As I seen, like his stats for his team last season, and they were pretty good. I think it was like quite a lot of assists in there and chipped in a couple of goals. So that's an exciting transfer rumour that's gone about. Hopefully that goes through. But I think the reason why we're getting all these links is because Brendan's acting fast. He knows what he wants, and I just hope, and I think the board are going to back him 100%. And I think this is what we're seeing with all these rumours. So I agree with Ryan. I think it's good that we're seeing it happen pretty early. I hate when it's like we're dragging our heels, and it's one of the ones. But it's good to see, mate, and also Kieran Tierney coming in, that's what an unbelievable signing that is. The only downside to that is we're not going to see Jota on the left hand side of him, because Tierney and Jota on the same wing would have been frightening.
Aye, obviously Jota, I don't know how his time frame is. It may be another 5-6 months. Obviously with technology these days it could be shorter. It just depends on how his rehab goes and how obviously his body reacts to that, because obviously the ACLs, like, maybe if it was 10 years ago it'd have been a long time out, but obviously with technology and medical stuff now it's a lot quicker. But I'm agreeing with Shaun there, Barry, that it's good to get a bit early movement. For me, KT, I know you've only spoken about him briefly, mate, but Shaun spoke about him there. For me, instantly, I know Carter Vickers is probably the best defender, but for me, KT instantly becomes your best player, in my opinion. I know there's a Catty and McGregor, but for me, it's just my opinion, Barry. We're signing, in my opinion, a world-class player. At his peak, in terms of age-wise, he's 28. That's sometimes your peak level. And I think we're getting him a better Kieran Tierney on the left. Yes, there's a wee injury question marks. For me personally, Barry, I'm not taking that into consideration, because I think he'll be fit. He might get the odd knock. All players get knocks. I don't think any player plays a season, Barry, when they're fully fit. They all have wee knocks and they just play through it. So, but in terms of early movement, mate, KT, what's your thoughts on them, mate?
I don't think I can add anything to the Kieran Tierney signing that hasn't already been said by every Celtic fan on every podcast. I mean, it's just a glorious signing. You're not just signing an outstanding left back, you're signing somebody who adds to the culture at Celtic. He adds to the dressing room. He adds to the appeal with the fans. He brings the fans closer to the club because Kieran Tierney's got a great affection with the Celtic fans. So you're getting all of that, and you're also getting an absolutely outstanding player. Regarding these, and that is the only downside to Tierney, is his record with injuries. It's not actually as bad as some folk would think, by the way. Right? I wouldn't quote myself on this, but I did have a wee look over his playing stats for Arsenal, Sociedad when he went on loan there. It's not as bad as what people have made it out to be. You know, the boy still has played a lot of football. I hope Brendan does what he done really well this season, and he managed the squad so well. I hope he manages the squad. I hope he manages Kieran particularly, which would mean we're going to have to bring somebody else in to help, so that Kieran Tierney's not playing every game. And in regards to Benjamin Negrin, who all but looks like he's going to sign, you know, I'll just echo what Shaun said. You know, the profile, perfect profile for us, and he averaged a goal every other game last season in the Danish league. 30 games played and he scored 15 goals. That is a hell of a return. And my final point on this is, Ryan, right, and I was talking to JP the other day there about this. I've got a feeling that this boy's coming in to play as a number 10. I don't think he's going to play it wide. I think he's going to play as a number 10. I think you'll see a change in Brendan, a tweak. He's still going to have three midfielders, but I do have a strong suspicion that he's going to go back to his favoured approach, which is two holding midfielders or double pivot, whatever way you want to call it, with an orthodox number 10. And that's where I think that boy will play. I could be wrong about it, but that's my feeling. I think that's going to happen. And I think it helps Arnie Engels. I think Arnie Engels is not an advanced midfielder. It just doesn't have those instincts to be getting into the box late. I mean, you look at his goals to games ratio, it's not great. You know, and the goals he did score, some of them were penalties. And I do respect Brendan's coaching and his capacity to mould and shape players. I mean, he's as good as anybody at that. So I wouldn't rule it out that he could make Engels that advanced midfielder. I think you're going to get the best out of Arnie Engels if you put him next to Carl McGregor. And give him some license to go forward, but allow him to just use his physicality, get on the ball, stop transitions, and have an orthodox number 10. Because I do think, as amazing as our season was last year, you know, but Mark touched on it, it didn't end really well. So, you know, Brendan Rodgers is where he's at in his career because of that constant willingness to change and improve. And I think he'll have looked at the side last season and went, I just think put somebody next to Callum, protects you for transitions, have an orthodox number 10 there, somebody who just, you know, can pick those spaces up, get into those pockets. And finally, I would say that I think Rio Hatate, if Rio does stay, there is some rumours about him, but I think if Rio Hatate stays as well, I think that might be a better position for him too. Just slightly deeper. I'm not suggesting for a minute that Rio plays as a defensive midfielder, more of a controlling midfielder, you know, and he doesn't have that constant need to be getting into the box, you know, and running himself into the ground, which I see Rio doing. I think he makes a lot of mistakes because he empties his tank too soon. So just, you know, allow him to preserve his energies a wee bit more, let him dictate games, and have your number 10 in there and give him the responsibility to sort of make things happen. So we'll see how it all plays out, but I think the signing himself is an exciting one.
Yeah, obviously, Mark, what Barry says there, good points as well for Shaun. A lot for you to digest, mate, and put your opinion across. But I do agree with Barry that it could be a change of formation. Obviously, the European side as well. I think we've done well last year, going to Atlanta and adapting and stuff, and I think you'll need to do that again because as much as we've maybe got a bit more faith now, we can go away and get these results. You could go and get a Madrid again or a Bayern Munich again, and you need to then potentially change your system. And I think maybe signing the Benjamin from the Swedish international from, is it Denmark as well? Denmark, isn't it? Or Norway, Denmark, one of the two of them.
Denmark.
Denmark brings 1.7 million. I think the only reason it's cheap, Mark, is due. I think he's only got 6 months, a year left of his deal. Barry's right, his stats are good. You can a lot of people now base it on stats and data. His stats and data look decent. It's a decent league. This league, the top 3 or 4 teams are decent. We've been beat off a few in the past, like Midtjylland and stuff. So no, right, Denmark. Aye, so we're one of the best against some of the teams in that side of the water. When we've early doors, again, Mark, you talk about momentum. That's what shows you where. If Celtic played like Midtjylland 6 months after that, we'd have probably beat them 3-4-0 home and away. So it just shows you how momentum is. But what's your thoughts on the two thoughts of the guys there, Mark?
Yeah, no, I agree with most. Just with the system, I don't think Brendan changes his system, to be honest. What he does is, what we've not replaced is Matt O'Reilly last season. He played in the 10 role. He get into the box more so. Kyogo and Ida, they drop as a 9. And Rodgers has always played with a 10 that's predominantly in the box and making forward runs in front of the strikers at times. And that's what happened the season before. So this guy, I have read that he does play 10. And I'd like to think that's what his main kind of requirement is for the team first and foremost, with the wide options as well, with Jota been out injured. But just to enhance the system, that's the strength of the Rodgers system. It stays the same. It's the personnel for me in it that dictates whether we're good or not. So when we get beat off Hearts, was it the season past last? We had Mikey Johnson in the wing. That's the ultimate. That's the testament to the system, and that's where he needs the number 10. So I agree with the Hatate and the Engels. They need to be playing further behind the ball. Their qualities are in the 10 role. They score goals, are capable, more Hatate, but they're more industrious in the middle of the park, creating, especially Hatate. If he's pass against young boys come into my head there, that's what he's got in his locker, but it's from deep. Whereas we do need somebody that's better in front of goal, even maybe kind of Ryan Christie type as well, that gets you that 15 goals a season and assists, because they're getting the runs before beyond the strikers, and that's what Matt O'Reilly did. And hopefully this guy, that will start to suggest that that's what he's got in his locker. And then if he can play wide as well, it gives us more options, because we'll need them, especially if the rumours about Kuhn are true as well, to replace him and potentially just have more options in the wide areas. So it's great, and there's 6 months left in the guy's contract. It's the type of players that we should be going for. He's just broken the Swedish national team, so it ticks all the boxes, and we're looking to hopefully get it done before pre-season, get him in. And I know that kind of didn't happen so quickly last summer, and a pre-season is really important, because I think Ida referenced it. With his proper pre-season, it did impact the start to his season, so it's big factors. Especially again, what we're talking about starting the season and hitting the ground running. So all these things, if we can get these couple of guys in the next week or two, we'll be in a very good place. And then there's other areas that I'm sure that the club are looking to address as well.
Yeah, I do feel Shaun, Mark says there's pretty spot on in getting guys in quickly. We all know the odd time it can take longer due to other things. It could be family reasons, moving schools, it could be anything. Obviously coming from a different country, it's not just a case of like pack up and move. There's other things you need to do, but there is obviously. It looks like he's potentially signing. It's just he's signing today, tomorrow. It's just maybe signing the X and O's. Obviously the young boy Osmond from Fulham as well. Well, no, he's going to be the third choice. Is Kenny go out on loan? Is he going to go back? It could be another one where the boy Osmond comes and gets back out on loan to somebody in the league. We don't know how that's going to play out, Shaun. But again, we've only got snippets for YouTube and snippets from Twitter or Facebook. The boy Osmond, he looks good at that level. Could it be another Berry where he's not really played with Fulham? Matt O'Reilly hardly played, and then boom, he comes in and he's brilliant. Or do you look at another situation where some fans, maybe myself, are asking the question where if we are picking guys for other youth systems, where does it leave your youth system, Shaun, when there's maybe guys like Cummins we've letting go, there's other guys who maybe tried up to the first team and they just not good enough, and that's why we need to pick other guys who's in team, like for Morton, they play for Morton, play for Fulham. Shaun, what's your take on that? But for me, I think that's fixed opinions. I'm a bit more, I'd like us to maybe put a bit more faith in our youth system, but if that means we're not going to do that, if it means we need to buy the best for other teams, then if that's where we need to do it, Shaun, then so be it.
The youth system for Celtic in the past couple of seasons hasn't been great. I mean, the Van Promising man that came out, it was obviously Ben Doak, and he was gone as soon as we started to get excited about him. So it's been a difficult one for Celtic. There has been a few boys that came through that I was looked promising, and it's just not quite worked out. But in terms of our signings and who Brendan brings in, I think the big advantage we've got is we have got Brendan. You know, this is a guy who's a tremendous top-level coach who, I mean, you only need to look at Matt Riley. I know under Angie he never got a sniff, but under Brendan, you know, we got him sold on for, 25 million plus. So I've seen a lot of mixed opinions in the comments section about the type of player we should be going for. You know, break the bank on a player, or, you know, this guy, McGregor's got 5 million. I think, you know, it's neither here nor there. You know, the fans were asking last year to spend money big on. We bought Engels, and some of them are still not happy. So we just need to trust in the manager we've got in place, and trust his signings, and trust his abilities. You know, he's an elite level coach. So anybody that he brings in, whether it be for the youth or whether it be, you know, I mean, Riley cost Celtic 1.5 million. Engels was 12 million. So. There you go. So it's just, it's the transfer market when it comes to Celtic and Celtic fans. You're never going to keep them happy, but I trust in Brendan. I trust in what his plans are for Celtic for going forward, and I'm just excited about anybody we get linked with, mate, whether it be somebody that's going to come in. But I would like to see the youth system be a bit more, you know, productive. But I think every club around the world suffers for that. You know, there's how many boys come through the youth system that, you know, they look incredible up until a certain point. They come into the first team and they just can't hack it. Mikey Johnson's a prime example. He just could not hack it. Celtic in that first team, and it's just, I don't know how we fix that problem in the youth system, but it's just, it comes down to what we're putting into the first team squad, mate. The quality needs to be there, and we can focus on the youth as things progress. But get the first team sorted and get the signings in.
I think Barry, what Shaun says, there's probably right in terms of right now it is the first team and preparing for pre-season and the play-off, and obviously the first league games, you want your first team in shape. Obviously behind the scenes they'll be working, Barry. Obviously they'll try and work behind the scenes in terms of getting the youth better. We could talk about that and probably for 3 hours about the youth system, the money we're spending, the coaches, there's loads, and that, Barry, in another podcast. But on what Shaun says here, what's your kind of thoughts on the transfer strategy at the moment, Barry?
Well, I like the idea that it seems to be we're trying to get players in early. You know, and I think we've been championing that for many a season. So if Celtic can get these deals over the line this week or even next, I think that's going to it's going to appease a lot of us as football fans, as Celtic fans. I think a lot of us will be feeling more confident with the club if those signings get made. Because the longer it goes, the more the doubt creeps in, the fears creep in, and you start to wonder, are we going to get these signings done? So it'll be good in that respect. I think in terms of who we're signing, you know, I heard somebody the other day there criticising Celtic for being linked with players in the Japanese market. And, you know, it's frustrating because as a football club, we need to have an open mind and we need to have a broad mind as well. We can't just narrow ourselves to certain players and that are playing in the top leagues in Europe or good leagues in Europe. You know, we have to be looking all over for recruitment, because the bottom line is we can't go out and spend £40 million on a player or £30 million on a player. We just don't have the ability to do that. We can't go and spend £11 million on 3 or 4 or 5 players either. You know, I'm hoping the club this season will spend some good money, and I'm hoping that they get the right players for that money. But still, it's not something that we're going to do. So, looking at a young lad for Fulham and trying to attract him to Celtic is good business. You know, I don't see that there's anything wrong with that. I think that's a productive way to be recruiting players. You know, because a lot of these guys on the fringes, big football clubs down in the English Premier League. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them will be able to come here and develop with the environment that we've got, with a coach who's known to develop players, and with the unique setup that we've got. So it's not going to be a high percentage strategy. You can't go down and pick, say, 10 players who are on the fringes, young players who are on the fringes, with English Premier League clubs, and expect them all to come here and be successful. But surely there's a strong market there for being able to do that. So hopefully that boy can come in and be an important player for the first team, or at least the first team squad. Again, we won't know. We don't know enough about this lad to say, but I'll go with what Shaun said. You know, I think I've trusted the board and I've trusted this manager for day one, for he came in. So I think if I was Brendan, right now, I'm not anywhere near as wise or as intelligent in football terms as what Brendan is. But I'm a winner. Brendan's a winner. I would be looking at the noise, as you say, Ryan. There's no guitars playing or anything like that, but there is noise. And with how the season ended, Celtic lost the Scottish Cup, and Celtic lost a few derbies. So Brendan Rodgers will be looking at that going, right, that'll be sharpening his senses. He'll be making sure that he's got all the tools that he needs getting into the new season. So, yeah, I'll just wait with anticipation to see what Celtic do. But I do think, all things considered, especially with these Champions League qualifiers as well, I think Celtic need to do something pretty special in the market this summer and with the players that we recruit. And I'm not, Kieran Tierney comes into the team straight away for me, but I still think you're looking at another 3 or even 4 first team players coming into Celtic. And in order for us to do that, we're going to need to make some pretty good moves.
Yeah, I'm probably going to agree with you, Barry. For me, Mark, I'm probably going to say Mirren 3 to 4 starters, because obviously Jota's not got potential no back to January. It's Vickers or Maeda or Kuhn or one of them going to go, so we obviously need to weigh up that as well. And ideally, you want to sign first before them potentially going. I think sometimes we're a bit slow at that. Kyogo left, didn't have anybody there just in case they came in. I'd rather, if one of them did go, we've got somebody in first, maybe go, right, okay, he might be gone, there's bids for him, we'll try and get a quality of him in before we sell, because that obviously keeps the continuity, momentum. But for me, Mark, I'm at Barry. I think we need, potentially, I'm going to be a bit greedy and say I think we need maybe Mirren 3 to 4 starters, because for me, I'm being honest, that scales to start every week for Celtic. If we want to progress, I think we need better. And they're obviously probably going to go. Dave Murray, we've not seen much of yet. Lagerber's going to go. Trusty, bit to and fro, some fans. So realistically, you've got one centre back starting every week. Tierney comes in, you need a backup for him. Midfield, how's that going to work out? You need maybe 2 or 3 wingers and a striker to come in, and a midfield or 2. So I think it's going to develop over the next few weeks, Mark. But I think obviously a lot might go out as well. There's rumours that Kron going to Austria Vienna as well. Yeah. So Tilly, is he coming back? Is he going to be an next superstar? Is he going to be out of blue? Who knows? There's loads of things, Mark, that might pop up next few weeks, mate. But what's your thoughts on the transfer state of play? And so any positions, I wish on the same, but so any positions that you feel we really need to spend a bit more money on and to get that bit of quality?
Yeah, no, there's a lot there, and just going back to the kind of the youth players, we've signed quite a few good youth players as a counter to losing youth players. So Frimpong, Moussa Dembele, and the boy Osman for Fulham, yet to be seen if he's to be good. So we have utilised that well. I'm completely comfortable. Maybe it might be in the minority with our transfer recruitment over the years, and I continue to be. By and large, we're very successful in comparison. I do a lot of comparisons to other clubs, transfer-wise, Brighton, Brentford, etc. the ones that are kind of revered for having good transfer strategies. And we're right up there, and we make a lot of good signings. So regardless of who we bring in, I have faith. Plus, we've got a manager, the likes of just Austin Trusty. For me, I wouldn't rule him out further improving this season. That's what Brendan Rodgers does. He comes in and he enhances players. Look at the transformation of Maeda this season. He wasn't that player last season under Brendan Rodgers. I think we need to remember that the nucleus of the squad gets better under Brendan Rodgers as we go. Hatate's had a better season this year than he did the previous season. So I wouldn't pin my hopes on these. I think we're football fans and we do that. The glamorous signing, the big signing that comes in. Celtic produce players. You mentioned the boy Tillio. Tom Rogic went back to Australia on loan. He was at Celtic for a couple of seasons without kicking a ball. And then who came in? Brendan Rodgers enhanced him into the player that he ended up being for Celtic. So we slowly progress and produce top class players, and we have done in the last 10 to 15 years. And I think that will continue definitely this season with Rodgers. So I think maybe if I was to pick one, probably a more stronger kind of defensive midfielder. I think that's the type of player that we need to kind of be a bit more robust in the midfield, especially in Europe, to have that more athleticism, a bit more physicality. I'm no one for physical type players. We're not that type of side, but we need a kind of more canty type player, if there's any of them still exist, to kind of just reinforce the kind of maybe the 2 6s with the 10 in the side. But the Negrin signing hopefully will be the 10 that will enhance that area of the pitch. But yeah, defensive midfielder for me. But I'm comfortable with who we bring in. Tierney's a sensational signing in more ways than just on the park. So just what he knows about the club and the influence that he'll have. And he's in his prime, regardless of injury. So we're getting a player that's in his prime. I'd rather have him in his prime half a season than a lot of left backs for the full season. So it's all good for me.
Yeah, in terms of the left back, as Mark mentioned there, Shaun, we've tried to obviously the club of whether people think or not, in my opinion, is as much as Greg Taylor's seen off left backs, they've been actively trying to replace him with Bolingoli, Burnley. They've paid a lot of money to replace him, and Greg Taylor stood up to the challenge, and he's been better than every one of them. I think if Greg did stay, I think we all know Tierney's playing. I think he would know that himself. Right away, for me, you're getting a top level player, as Mark says, not just on the park, off the park as well. Good one on here as well. Brown Warrior says Matthew Anderson. Shaun, is he going to step up to the mark? Is this his time to progress? You've also got Adam Montgomery, who's still under contract. Does he come into the blue and go, no, I want to be the left back? Yeah. So for me personally, I think it's maybe time Adam, for his own career, maybe moves on. I think he's 23, 24 now. I think for me, Shaun, if you're 23, 24 and you're not playing in the week with Celtic or coming off the bench regularly, then it's maybe time to go to Pastors View and get game time elsewhere. But what's your thoughts on what Mark said there about the transfer strategy, and is there any position that you feel we need to buy potentially bigger or spend a bit more money? I'm agreeing with Mark that I do feel, I'm going to probably swear here, Shaun, but a nasty bastard in the middle of the park. I think we're too nice. I think we're very too nice. I think we're all, as much as I like sportsmanship, I think we're too, oh, you're right, pal. And sometimes I'm like, just pushing it away. Like, come on, it's a bit of the dark arts, Shaun, for me. I think we need that. And I think it complements the nice technical players that we've got, Shaun.
Aye, no, I agree with Mark. A defensive midfielder is a position I've spoke to Barry, personally about this, and Callum McGregor, when he's not in the team, there is a void there. We see it massively, and I have spoke to Barry about this in length. I would like to see Celtic get somebody in and learn under McGregor while he's still here. I mean, he's 32, and we really need to be looking ahead to, who's going to captain Celtic, who's going to step up to that once McGregor's no longer playing. So I know there was rumours about the boy Lennon Miller for Motherwell. I do really like the look at him. He's Scottish and all. I don't know what his transfer movement is. I know there is clubs interested in him, but certainly the defensive midfield position, I would definitely be looking to get somebody in there. And the left back position, I know we've just never truly been blessed with strong, solid left backs.
Just to cut on, Shaun, here's one for you. David says, and then David from Leicester. Do you think that could be a possibility?
I mean, with Rodgers' links to Leicester, any player for Leicester is a possibility. because they've been coached under Rodgers and Whitnall, so I know there was wild claims of Vardy in that maybe coming to Celtic, but and I think one of the guys in the comments was talking about Kuhn. I think if an offer comes in for Kuhn, I would take it as well. He's just the consistency's not there with him. He kind of splits opinion. When he's on it, and he looks absolutely frightening. Unplayable. But what Kuhn is going to turn up, so I would also be looking to strengthen in the right. And again as well, Alistair Johnston. Who's competing behind him? Tony Ralston. There's areas where that team that could be strengthened. But I'm in agreement with Mark. I think get a good, solid, strong defensive midfielder in there that's going to fill the void when Cal Mack's not in the team, because that is a huge void because of how talented he is.
Yeah, I think you're right on that, Barry. McGregor, for me, some Celtic fans say he's not playing because you beat St Johnstone 5 or 6-0 that we're better. For me, it's nonsense, mate. I'm a massive advocate of McGregor. I still feel, maybe not now because he's getting a bit older, but previous years, I probably might have got a bit of stick off. I'm surprised I didn't get clapped off Rangers fans saying it, but when McGregor, when he's maybe 28, 27, 29, at his point with Celtic, can easily go down south and play, even off the bench for your Arsenals, your Man Cities, etc. Off the bench, I'm saying, no every week, but he could definitely contribute. I rate him that highly. He could go to Everton and West Ham, Barry, for me, probably still do a job. Maybe not every week, but he could do a job. I think that's how good McGregor is. But I do feel potentially, again, it's maybe a lower topic for right now, maybe in the next 18 months or so, but potentially, Barry, we need to look at replacing him because we've Scott Brown. He had to play a lot more probably in the season, but we don't speak about it probably more than he should have within the man's as well due to circumstances. And I hope in the next year or two we have somebody that's still at a top level. By the way, this is no saying to replace him, but somebody to come in, maybe develop under him. If that's Engels or somebody else, if it's somebody else we sign, to nurture, develop, and then go right, Calm, take a back seat the all game, and I come in and do the same job.
Yeah, listen, I think Callum McGregor's still in his prime. I don't think there's any drop off for Callum at all. I understand that he is ageing, but I don't see any signs of McGregor's form dipping. I don't see any areas of his game weakened. On the contrary, the guy actually scored a lot more goals this season than he has done in recent years from that deep position. So I'm in no rush to be looking at somebody replacing Callum or, even as Shaun says, sort of priming somebody for that role. I think I still see Callum being at Celtic, the next 2 or 3 seasons. And who knows, he's a guy who's dedicated to what he does. So, we don't know how long Callum's going to play, but certainly there's no need, in my opinion, to be looking at his position. I just would like to see Brendan rotate him a bit more. I'd like to see him rest him more. I think he still plays far too many games. In terms of where I would like to see Celtic strengthen, I won't bore everybody with getting into all the areas I think we need to strengthen in, but I think an out-and-out defensive midfielder, I'm not sure would be my approach. I just think I would tweak how we play. I just think that we should have a second body in there next to Callum. Whether that's Engels or Rio, and then we play an out-and-out number 10, which, as I said, I do think that's what Brendan's going to do. And I just think that gives you the need for transitions in Europe. You've got 2 players in there, you can just ask them both to sit. That's one way of, tightening things up a bit. You've got 2 bodies in there and you just ask 2 of them to sit. And I think Engels will be better for it. I think you'll see a far better version of Arne Engels playing in that role. For me, where would I like to see Celtic? If there was a player available and it was double figures that Celtic had to pay for that player, it would be a centre forward for me. I'm a huge fan of Ida. I've backed the guy, I've defended the guy. I think his record's excellent. I think he scores in big games, but I think there's deficiencies there. I'm hoping with a pre-season under his belt, with Brendan, really working his magic with him. I'm hoping you're going to see a much more refined Dida next season. But still, that's where I would like to see Celtic spend the money. It's if we were going to get it bang on perfect with one player, one position, that's the position I would like to see us get it right with.
I'm probably going to agree with you, Barry. I like either the fact that he's a goal scorer, but I do feel his all-round game has to get better if it's to make it better in Europe. I'm agreeing with you. I'm willing to give him pre-season. Hopefully, if there's one man that can get him better, any player better, that is Brendan. Like you mentioned with Tom Rogic, I don't know if it was Mark that said it or Shaun or yourself, but he's nurturing guys like that. I think it was Mark mentioned Tillio. He could come at us. We don't know what Tillio's like. We've only seen snippets of him. We've only seen him 2 games or so at Celtic, so we can't fully comment fully. For me, I'm like Barry, Mark. I think for me a top striker. I probably think in the next year or 2 or whenever, I can potentially see Celtic spending 13-15 million pound a player. I think it will happen as long as we're in Europe. This format every season, you can do it because I think, Mark, you'll get the money back, especially if you're doing well. You'll win trophies, you'll qualify for the format every season, hopefully. But I'm going to agree with Barry, Mark. I think a top, even, I know people might think I'm crazy here, but all round somebody better than Maeda, because Maeda's got his deficiencies also in terms of certain parts of his game. I don't think he is an out-and-out striker, but it's one of the ones. Where do you prefer him, out wide, up front? But I'm going to agree with Barry, Mark. I'd love us to, listen, I'm not going to say we're going to sign Larson or somebody like that, but go and spend a good bit of money on an out-and-out prolific goal scorer.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But I'm going to give you my theory on it as it stands now and see what you think, because I thought after the January window, and Rodgers was quite open about wanting a striker and being disappointed that we didn't get a striker. Now, I thought that would have been our first acquisition in the summer transfer window, but it's no. It seems to be Whiteflair, and then we've got the boy from Fulham, potentially to be third choice striker, I would imagine. So I think that, hoping, and I hope this as well, that he's going to plan to set up the season with Maeda as first choice striker, Ida 2 and Osmond is 3. Now, you couldn't, £15 million wouldn't buy you, Dyson Maeda, for us just now, if you would agree with that or not. So keeping him for another year, and I'm assuming that's that he wants to stay, I think. And then you did spend 10 or 15 million in a striker, but now you put Maeda back in the wing, possibly. But I think after the season he's had last year, could we buy a striker as good as Maeda? I don't think so. So I'd be willing, and that's if he wants to stay, and Rodgers knows that. That's what you go with, and then you heavy load your wide areas. That's why we're looking at all the wingers, because of Jota's absence, and then just that's where Rodgers' teams are strong in the wide areas. But that's my thought on it now. Hoping it's the case in the sense that Maeda will stay. But I thought if we were going to get a striker, he would have been first. But I agree with the kind of the overall that spending big on a striker. But do we need one at the moment if Maeda stays?
That's quite a good question, Mark. It would probably throw up a bit of debate to a lot of fans as well. So it's quite a good point. Last bit of the show, lads. Me and Daniel spoke about it on Tuesday. Obviously, we don't want to sell players, Shaun, but there's a potential that maybe one of your big hitters might go. And I'm going to just ask you for, if it Kun, Maeda, CCV and Tatati, out of the four of them, I don't know if you did mention about Kun, but out of the four of them, if you did get a bid, which one would you sell? And out of the four of them, which one do you think is non-sellable?
For me, I would sell Kun. He's the obvious choice for me. I couldn't, there's an argument for Hatate, but for me, when Hatate plays, he's just, you see them towards the end of the season. I think they missed him massively in the cup final. I think, the cup final might have went differently had Hatate been playing. He just unlocks that door for you when you need it. So for me, it would be Kun and Maeda. No, if we can keep Maeda, we need to do everything in our power to try and keep him. CCV, no, he's the same. He's like a bit like Calmac when he's not on the team. It's noticeable. It's I would be looking at Kuhn. He would be the one for me. I think historically, I know Rodgers is, he's always recruited well in the wings. So if Kuhn was to go, I wouldn't be sweating it with who we are going to bring in.
I think it is it's got, listen, I don't think we're all right or all wrong, Barry. I think it's just a wee debate to end the show. I don't know. I'm probably going to say, in terms of selling a Bakun, I think we might be agreeing. I don't know what Mark feels on that, Barry, and yourself, but I think you can probably buy a better winger than Kuhn potentially all round, maybe consistently wise, as Shaun says. But for me, as much as I love Maeda, I think in terms of all round ability, I think we can potentially buy better, but his intensity and his fitness levels and defensive work is probably second to none. So it's one of the ones. Can you sell him? Is he that much in importance to you? But for me, in terms of, I don't think our record on centre backs, Barry's the best we've seen recently. Lagia Berker's not done well, Near's done awful. I like Nerowski, but is he going to be Carter Vickers? Probably no, right? Truth to you, I'm not giving up pre-season. Probably this Christmas time, then we'll judge him fully again. But for me, I think there's one guy that we can't sell for any money, really. I know it might sound daft, but money's money, money talks, Barry. But for me, Carter Vickers, I don't think we can sell him at all, because as much as our board and money men and recruitment team have done well in the past, it's hard to get one top centre back. To potentially buy two, Barry, I think that's very, very hard in one window, mate.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Ryan. I think of the four there, the one that I would be most gutted to lose would be CCD. And, I just think, how do you replace him? I haven't seen a centre-back at Celtic like CCD since Virgil van Dijk. I'm not saying for a second Cameron Carter-Vickers is as good as Van Dijk, but what I'm saying is his consistency, his defensive abilities, it's the trust that you can have in CCB. I haven't felt that way about a centre-back, as I said, since Virgil van Dijk was at Celtic. So that's the one that I would not want to lose. And I'm with you, Ryan, no matter what the money was, it would need to be silly money. And even at that, Mark said that, talking about trying to sign players for 10, 15 million, there's no guarantees with it. So I don't even think 15 million, 20 million pound, there's no guarantees we go and get somebody with the same quality as CCB, and we're definitely not going to spend that kind of money either. I think that people forget too quickly how good Nicholas Kuhn is. That's my feeling on it. I mean, Kuhn was unplayable at points in the season. He was frightening. There was debates going on at the time before Jota came back to Celtic. Who would you take, this version of Nicholas Kuhn or Jota? And it was 50-50. What do you prefer? So I wouldn't be in any hurry to sell Kuhn unless the boy wants to leave. That's different. Of the four, I would sell Rio if Celtic could get good money back. If there was decent money there, if I don't recall what we paid for him. I think it was maybe £1.5 million or round about that. If you get an offer of 8-9 million quid for Hatate, being a club that likes to get profit back for their players, I would sell Rio. I think you can replace Rio. I think we'd struggle greatly to replace Maeda. I think what you've got with Maeda as well, not to forget his goals, but his skill set's unique. You're just not going to be able to go and replace that. So, yeah, that would be my position. I would sell Rio if the money was good enough, and I'd be determined to keep the other boys, including Kuhn. I would be really keen to keep a hold of.
Obviously, Mark, we ideally want to keep everybody and to progress and stuff like that, but sometimes money is maybe too much and maybe players' heads can turn. But I'm at Barry. I think Carter Vickers, I don't think we can buy a centre back at the prime age. What is Vickers, 26, 27, maybe going to be that, 25, going to be that. If he is, can we buy a centre back at that level? I know people say he's injury, but I think he played 44 games last year, so he didn't really miss too much in terms of league games. I know he's missed the odd European game, which that's going to probably get sorted, Mark. But for me, I'm with Barry. I can take Shaun's opinion as well. I can take Hatate. I can take that because maybe his cycle's maybe after this season or there's summer, maybe it's done. Just certain players' cycle can be finished. But for me, Mark, I think if we sell Carter Vickers, the club need to have somebody within a day or two, because I think myself would be like, I might not get the bleach out because I don't want to go back to goal. Because for me, Mark, I'm like Barry, I think he's the best since Van Dijk we've had, probably in Scotland. That we've seen. So can we replace that quality? I think you need to go and get Dermot Desmond's bank check out and go and spend 20 to 30 to 40 million, because for me, Carter Vickers is a Premier League player at the top level, your top 10 leagues, top 10 team. That's just my opinion, mate. But what's your thoughts on that, mate, to end the show?
Yeah, no, I think if I had to choose, then, or I think we've got to be realistic as well. That replacing top players is extremely difficult, regardless of who you are. If it was so easy, and if it was easy to just kind of have the player coming through to fill the boots, then why did Spurs no replace Harry Kane? Man United have lost 13 players and had hundreds of millions of pounds to spend, and they can't replace top players. So maybe we've got to understand as well that certain players might not be able to be replaced to the same level straight away, at least. But Carter Vickers and Maida equally for me now, though, I would be concerned if we lost either. They'd be very, very difficult to replace. I'm not saying that we couldn't get someone that so again, the way that we develop players, it takes time. So we don't sign 25 million to 30 million. We sell 25 million to 30 million pound players. So, and then Hatate, initially I thought maybe he would be the one that I would sell, but I think he's got another level in him, Hatate. I think he said this is the most consistent he's been in the season, the most games he's played, and I think he was a late developer as a player anyway. He didn't start playing professional football to 22, 23, I think. And I think another season under Rodgers, he's got something in the midfield that not many midfielders have. He's a kind of throwback. He's got that pass that he can cut open defences for 50, 60 yards. And it's something that is very rare in modern football, actually. So in that respect, it would be Kuhn, but I don't want to lose Kuhn. And especially not for 15 million. So we would not be able to buy a replacement for him for 15 million at the same stats in the Champions League for a start. So I think we've got to look at that side of things now. And unless he wants to go, and then that's a different debate for any player. I would be you would just be well holding on to him for 15 million, as opposed to maybe spending 7, 8 and somebody else that. So the Swedish guy coming in doesn't have the same stats at the same level as Kuhn, anywhere near it. So
Alan's a big fanboy of Rio, Mark.
Well, I bigged him up there, didn't I? And I think he's got another level in him this season. So it would be Kuhn for me, but I don't want to lose Kuhn. So only if the money was right and maybe the player didn't want to stay here. But I think Kuhn's exceptional. And the inconsistent part, just to finish, there's, again, what standards are we holding Kuhn to? Most wingers are inconsistent. You very rarely get wingers that are consistent. So, and the whole team fell off when he became inconsistent. So I don't remember any player really finishing the season well, apart from maybe Hatate in the last 3 months. So I think maybe a bit unfair on Kuhn to say being inconsistent when the team the season was by after Munich. So
no, I do agree with you, Mark. I do think, I've said it myself, about wingers, they can be inconsistent. So I try my best and not criticise too much. They can have the odd game. Just look at Abada. For 3 or 4 games, he was amazing. And then for 4 games, he was non-existent. But he still scored goals. I think that's a good point we could talk about in our podcast. But Abada, for me, was so underrated. I know he was raw and he was, I don't want to say babyish, but he was young. But he was really raw. And Brendan coached him a wee bit. I still go back to the game at home against them across the water at Ibrox, at Celtic Park. That was one of the best individual performances I've seen for an individual in a long time. He was tremendous that night. But I think overall, lads, I think we're on the same opinions. It's good to see movement. It's good to see links for a change. No sausage links, but transfer links. It's really good to get a Celtic fixture because that's what it is at this pre-season. There's not really much football on at the moment. It's good to have a good chat and debates, and we've all got different opinions, which is very good. So again, lads, thanks for your time. I know we're a bit over time, but it's hard to call it when you're having a good debate and the good chats and the comments are flying in. So again, I really appreciate it, lads. It's coming on. It is a sunny day. You could be out in the garden sunbathing and having a barbecue, but you're talking to us and having a good chat. So it's always good. So Shaun, thanks for your time, mate. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks very much, Ryan. I appreciate you having me on, mate.
Any time, mate. Yourself, Barry. Good to have you back on, mate. Hope your weekend just goes very well, mate.
Thanks, Ryan. Keep doing what you're doing here, guys. It's a great pod, you know, and it's always improving. I know you guys work hard behind the scenes at producing more content, better content. So, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Good to have the wee bro on, making his big debut, Shaun, and my dear pal Mark. Always good to see you too, mate.
And yourself, Mark, thanks for coming back on, mate. Hope you had a good weekend as well, mate.
Aye, cheers and well done, Shaun. Debut. And no, just thanks for asking us again. It's been an absolute pleasure. And never mind the sun in the garden, you can't be talking about the Celts. And enjoy your holiday, JP.
I don't know if JP will be a few langers down by now, or maybe the Rangers keep them up, I don't know. But again, lads, it's really, really good. We will be back on Monday, probably usual time. It won't be the dial, and it'll just be probably this kind of chat, anything transfer-wise over the weekend, anything that pops up in the media, we'll obviously put on that to you as well. If you are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, we are on there. Please give us a wee follow and subscribe to the YouTube. It is free. Please like the episode. It does get us out there in the algorithm, and it helps the channel. It helps us get guys like Barry, Shaun, Mark on. It helps us get continued support, i.e. like Barry Bannon coming on and ex-professionals who are in the game and out the game, which is really good. So please like, subscribe, and we will see you on Monday. Until then, have a good weekend, lads, and I'll see you all very, very, very soon.
Hail, hail, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.